Ever think about what happens after you flush? I mean, most of us don't, right?
No.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
But today, we're diving headfirst into that hidden world.
Okay.
Sewage cleanup. And trust me, it's way more interesting and important than it sounds.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Most people only think about sewage when something goes wrong.
Right.
But understanding this hidden world can actually empower you to prevent those situations in the first place.
I'm all about feeling empowered. We've got this stack of sewage cleanup protocols, and I have to admit, it's a little intimidating. I mean, we're not just talking about a little mess here, are we?
Not at all.
No.
Sewage is classified as a biohazard for a reason. We're talking about a potent mix of bacteria, viruses, and even parasites. Think E. coli, salmonella.
Mm-hmm.
These are just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, those are names you definitely don't want to see on a restaurant health inspection report. What else is lurking down there?
Have you ever heard of Cryptosporidium?
I have not.
It's a microscopic parasite that can cause pretty nasty gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah.
It's incredibly resilient and can survive for weeks in even the harshest conditions.
Weeks. That's just not right. So it's not as simple as wiping up a spill with some bleach?
Bleach alone won't cut it.
Really?
We're talking about professional-grade disinfection here. Think high-temperature steam cleaning.
Okay.
Why steam? Because it literally explodes those bacterial cells on contact, destroying them from the inside out.
Yeah.
It's also incredibly effective at penetrating porous materials where those nasty microbes like to hide.
So they're not messing around. But before we even get to the cleanup stage, what happens if, knock on wood, we find ourselves facing a sewage situation? These protocols mention something about containment being key.
Containment is absolutely the first priority. Think of it like this. You've got a leak in a pipe. Before you can even think about fixing it, you need to turn off the water supply.
Makes sense. So what's the sewage equivalent of turning off the water supply?
It starts with isolating the affected area.
Okay.
We're talking about preventing anyone from entering, especially kids and pets, because you don't know what you're dealing with yet. And for the love of everything, turn off the electricity to that area.
Okay, water and electricity are a bad mix, but why is that especially important with sewage?
Because sewage, especially black water, which is what we flush down our toilets,
Yep.
is an excellent conductor of electricity. Any contact between electrical sources and standing sewage is a recipe for electrocution.
Right.
Not to mention, you also have the risk of damaged electrical systems sparking and causing fires, especially in older buildings.
Wow, it's amazing how many things we take for granted until something like this happens. So we've isolated the area, turned off the power. What's next on our sewage first aid checklist?
Ventilation.
Okay.
Remember all those lovely microorganisms we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
They're releasing gases as they break down waste, and you don't want to be breathing that in.
No.
Open windows, use fans. Get
Ah.
that contaminated air moving out as quickly as possible.
So we're basically airing out our dirty laundry, literally. What about protective gear? Can we tackle this in our gardening clothes?
Not quite.
Mm.
Remember those hazmat suits you see in the movies?
Yeah.
It's not quite that dramatic, but sewage cleanup requires serious protection.
Okay, so not gardening clothes. What's the dress code for a sewage situation?
We're talking heavy-duty, waterproof gloves
Okay.
to protect your skin from coming into contact with those nasty microbes.
Right.
And a respirator is a must-have
Gotcha.
to avoid inhaling those particles we talked about earlier.
Makes sense. It's like we're suiting up for battle against an invisible enemy.
Exactly. And let's not forget waterproof boots and coveralls.
Right.
You don't want to be tracking that contamination to other parts of the building.
Yeah.
Remember, containment is key.
Okay, so we're suited up, the area is isolated and ventilated. Now what? Is it finally time to unleash the bleach?
You'd think so, but professional-grade disinfection is a multi-step process. It's about completely eradicating those microorganisms, not just pushing them around.
Okay.
We're talking potent EPA-registered disinfectants.
Yeah.
Specifically chosen for their effectiveness against sewage-dwelling bacteria and viruses.
So there's a whole science to this, and it's not over once the visible mess is gone either, right? Didn't we talk about mold earlier?
Right. Remember those mold spores we mentioned? They just love damp, dark places.
Mm.
And the sewage situation is like a 5-star hotel for them. So proper drying is crucial.
Okay, so no damp welcome mats for mold. How do the pros ensure things are really, truly dry?
They use industrial-grade dehumidifiers
Okay.
to suck the moisture out of the air and air movers to circulate everything, making sure nothing gets trapped in walls or under floors. They even have these special moisture meters to double-check that everything is bone dry.
It's amazing how much goes into this. It makes you realize that those flushable wipes might not be so flushable after all, huh?
Ah, yes. The infamous flushable wipes.
Huh?
Let's just say they're the bane of every plumber's existence.
Wait, they're lying to us? Those wipes are like the ultimate betrayal. What's the deal with them?
Despite what the packaging might claim, they don't break down in water like toilet paper does. They're often made from non-biodegradable materials that can wreak havoc on your plumbing system.
So it's a straight-up marketing scam. I'm adding flushable wipes to my list of things I'll never trust again. What else should we be keeping out of our drains?
Feminine hygiene products are another big one. They're designed to absorb fluids, not break down in them. And believe it or not, things like paper towels and cotton balls can also cause problems.
Seriously, even cotton balls, they seem so harmless.
They do, but they don't dissolve properly and can contribute to clogs. It's all about being mindful of what goes down those drains.
Okay, so we've covered prevention, the importance of professional cleanup. But how do we know when it's time to call in the experts? Is there a certain level of ick that should set off alarm bells?
Honestly, with sewage, any exposure is too much exposure.
Right.
But there are some red flags that scream, call the professionals now.
Hit me with those red flags. What should we be on the lookout for?
If you're dealing with a large-scale backup, especially one that involves multiple rooms or floors, don't even attempt to handle it yourself. Same goes if you notice any signs of mold growth, or if the sewage contains hazardous materials like chemicals. It's not worth risking your health or safety.
Makes sense. It's not like changing a light bulb, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of professionals, are there specific certifications we should be looking for? How do we know we're getting the real deal?
Absolutely. You want a company certified by organizations like the IICRC,
Okay.
the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. This ensures they adhere to industry standards and have the knowledge to handle these situations safely and effectively.
So those certifications really matter. What should we ask about when we're calling around for quotes?
Look for terms like Certified Sewage Remediation Specialist or Water Damage Restoration Technician. And make sure they have liability insurance in case something goes wrong during the cleanup process. You don't want to be on the hook for any additional costs or damages.
Right. It's all about protecting ourselves. This has been eye-opening, but I have one more question. Once the sewage is removed, where does it go? It's not like it just
Yes.
disappears, right?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It really highlights how disconnected we can be from the systems that support our daily lives. Once the sewage is collected, it's transported to a wastewater treatment plant.
A treatment plant. What happens there?
Those treatment plants are like giant biofactories. They use a combination of physical, chemical, and biological processes to remove contaminants and make the water safe again.
Hold on. Did you just say safe? As in safe to be around?
Yes. Well, safe for the environment and ultimately for us. It's a fascinating process that most people never think about.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Walk me through this biofactory process.
First, the sewage undergoes a preliminary treatment where large debris like trash and grit are removed.
Huh.
Think of it like a giant strainer.
Okay.
Then it moves on to primary treatment, where solids settle to the bottom and are pumped away for further processing.
And then do they just bottle it up and call it a day?
Not quite. The partially treated water then goes through secondary treatment, and this is where it gets really interesting. Microorganisms are introduced to break down any remaining organic matter.
So we're harnessing the power of tiny creatures to clean up our mess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a brilliant example of using natural processes to solve human-made problems. These microorganisms, mainly bacteria, feast on the organic waste in the sewage, breaking it down into harmless byproducts.
That is pretty amazing. But what about those pesky viruses and parasites we talked about? Are those getting eaten by bacteria too?
Not exactly. While bacteria play a key role in breaking down organic matter, disinfection is the next crucial step.
Okay.
This usually involves ultraviolet light or chlorine, both highly effective at neutralizing those remaining pathogens.
So we're zapping those bad guys with UV light. Does that mean the water is drinkable?
Not quite drinkable just yet. Depending on local regulations, the treated water might be discharged into a nearby river or lake or used for irrigation purposes.
So it might be watering our crops. That's kind of poetic in a way.
It really is. And in some cases, the water might even undergo further treatment to become potable, meaning safe for drinking.
Wow, that is wild. So the water we flush could potentially end up back in our homes, the circle of life, or I guess the cycle of water.
Exactly. It really Puts things into perspective, doesn't it? This whole deep dive has been a fascinating reminder that there's so much happening behind the scenes, processes we often take for granted.
It really does. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a newfound appreciation for plumbers and sanitation workers everywhere.
Hear, hear. They're the unsung heroes of public health, keeping those systems running smoothly and protecting us from a whole lot of unseen dangers.
Absolutely. So, as we reach the end of our deep dive into the world of sewage cleanup, what's the one takeaway you hope our listener walks away with?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that knowledge really is power. The more we understand about these systems, even the ones we'd rather not think about, the better prepared we are to make informed decisions and protect ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. It's about respect, too.
Yeah,
Respect for those hidden systems that keep our lives running smoothly, and respect for the people who work tirelessly to manage those systems.
absolutely. So next time I see a plumber, I'm giving them a high five. Or maybe a grateful nod from a safe distance.
A grateful nod works. And hey, maybe this deep dive will inspire our listeners to think twice before they reach for those so-called flushable wipes. Right. Those wipes are officially canceled. We've learned so much today, from the unseen dangers lurking in our pipes to the science behind professional cleanup and even the fascinating journey of sewage after it leaves our homes. It's been quite a ride.
It has. And it just goes to show that there's always more to discover, even in the most unexpected places.
Well said. Big thanks to you, our sewage expert extraordinaire, for guiding us through this hidden world.
It was my pleasure. Always happy to talk shop, even if it involves sewage.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into a topic that's usually, well, flushed from our minds. Remember, knowledge is power, prevention is key, and those flushable wipes are still lying. Until next time, stay curious.